2025, how do you actually create meaningful change in your law firm through an identity shift? Monitor your actions like a hawk in 2025. I want you to monitor every action or inaction of yours in 2025 because those actions are going to be the roadmap for whether or not you see the progress that you want. You cannot get something in life that you don't deserve. If you are not committed to something, you don't deserve it. You need to focus on growth. Why? Because most law firms are too small. Growth is the number one predictor of healthy businesses. And make sure you're mission focused in your firm this year. Focus on the mission. Focus on why you're doing what you're doing. Don't make it all about you. Earn your vacations through your mission. If you have excuses, you don't have innovation. And if you have innovation, you don't have excuses. Best way to innovate is when your back is up against the wall. What's up, law firm owner? It's Bill Hauser with another episode of the Law Firm Growth Accelerator podcast. Today we're going to talk about bringing out the beast in your firm in 2025. I need you to be the beast, okay? So, 2025, how do you actually create meaningful change in your law firm through an identity shift, right? Really, you becoming the person who deserves to run a firm 10 times its current size, right? So, let's say wherever it is you're at right now, and by the way, I say 10 times, but if you're doing 10 times 0 is still 0. If you're doing $1, 10 times $1 is $10. So I always like to say your minimum goal that you can set is only adding $1 million or more to your firm next year, right? Now, I'm just putting that high expectation on you because I know you can do it. Now, if you're in PI, obviously there's delayed cash flow from when you sign up cases, so you're not going to collect that revenue in 1 year, but you can sign up $1 million in projected fees in your first year, right? Just depending on how committed you are. My question to you is, if you want to have 2025 be the best year of your life and bring out that inner beast in you, okay? What has to be true? What has to be true starting with your identity, right? And then graduating to what actually has to happen in the law firm. Let's start with your identity. Why is your identity so important? Every single law firm out there is a reflection of the leader of the law firm's belief system, right? If the law firm hasn't grown, that means the leader's belief system hasn't grown. That means the owner of the firm's beliefs have not grown, right? So every business is a reflection of the belief system of the owner, of the CEO, of the founder, of the leader of that business, right? So what about your identity has caused you to tolerate flatlining, treading water, incremental step-by-step change? What's allowed you to tolerate that? Why are you tolerating that? What happened in your life that caused you to think that 5, 10, 15, 20, 30% growth is even tolerated? Not just revenue growth, profit growth, but also free time growth, right? If you didn't go from 100 free days a year to 130 free days a year last year, why? Why are you thinking so small? Why are you so on call for your firm? And what's about your identity that's causing this, right? What is it about your identity that's causing this? So in the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks a lot about the power of identity. I mean, the real outcome of identity change is habit change and vice versa. The real outcome of habit change is identity change, right? These two things go hand in hand. If you were to tell someone, I'm going to not smoke cigarettes for a week, right? That is a very different statement than telling someone, oh, I'm not a smoker anymore. Two very different statements. I'm not going to smoke for a week, or I am no longer a smoker. That is no longer my identity. This is the number one thing I've disagreed with when it comes to AA, is the categorization of yourself as an identity for the rest of your life, right? Oh, I'm just an addict for the rest of my life, right? And I have many friends who were in recovery that just chose to never label themselves as an addict ever again, right? No, that's just not who I am anymore. I've changed my identity. That's not my belief system anymore. Actually, I have one friend of mine who, was through the whole AA process, did it for, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 10 years, and was actually addicted to heroin. And he ended up telling himself after 10 years in and out of the system, finally said, oh, I'm not an addict anymore. I'm an entrepreneur, right? And now I think this month he'll make $500,000 in a month, right? Now that change didn't happen for 10 years until he changed his identity, until he told himself, oh, this is who I now am. I'm stepping on to a new evolution, right? I'm becoming a different person, right? So happened with me with my anxiety disorder. I don't have anxiety disorder anymore. I am not an anxious person anymore. Notice how the conviction I speak with when I tell you that. It's just not my identity. I put to rest that identity of mine years ago. That's just not who I am anymore, right? And that identity shift you need to apply to your law firm. You need to apply to all the parts of your firm that are stealing your life away. The amount of time you spend handling individual client issues, the amount of time you spend handling specific intake problems that only you can solve. Never again. 2025 is the year where you claim, no, I'm the CEO of my firm. I designed the intake system. I designed the case management system. I'm not the one doing either of those though, because I'm the CEO of the firm. I'm not my own employee. I'm not my own lawyer. I didn't go, start this firm to then go hire myself as a lawyer who works for myself, who's a lunatic, right? I mean, imagine that. All entrepreneurs are crazy. Did you really start a job to just work for another crazy person? You're the crazy person you're working for, right? So if you're going to be a crazy boss, which you probably are, might as well not work for yourself. Does that make any sense? Right? Fire yourself from the job you've hired yourself to do, like handling the cases, handling the intake, handling all the employee fires, client fires, etc., right? Fire yourself from it. Say never again. That's not who I am anymore, right? And what you'll realize is once you start getting these commitments straight in your mind, the actions soon thereafter will follow, and vice versa. When you start taking actions that align with the CEO, your actions are votes towards the identity of the person you want to be. This isn't bull. This is like habit science, right? If you show up to the gym every single day for 2 years in a row, you took action for what's 365 times 2 is over 700 days. If you took that much action going to the gym, 730 days or whatever, took that much action, 730 days in a row, what do you think those actions are going to tell your subconscious mind about who you are? What do you think those actions are going to tell your subconscious mind about who you really are? Your actions are evidence to who you are, what your identity is. So the person who shows up to the gym 700 plus days in a row, their actions are votes towards the fact that I am a full-time exerciser. That's who I am. I don't miss days in the gym other than my planned rest days, right? So for me, it's actually harder to not go to the gym than it is to go to the gym now. Like I'll show you some of my, I don't know if you can see it, but like on my workout app from last week, I used this Polar strap. Burned 3,770 active calories last week. I exercised 6 hours and 9 minutes last week. Week before that, I exercised 5 hours and 38 minutes and burned 3,300 calories. Week before that, I worked out 6 hours and 30 minutes and I burned 3,500 calories. And that's the last 3 weeks in a row, right? And that's every week for me. So it is hard for me to not work out 6 hours a week. It's actually like I feel like a complete slob if I don't do that throughout my week because it's just my identity. It's who I am, right? If I don't, um, if I don't, plan my week, I've done this every single week for 6 years. It's actually harder for me to not plan the priorities of my week than it is to plan the priorities of my week, because that's my identity, right? So your actions are votes to the identity that you want to come. Now, your inactions are also equally votes for your identity, just as much, okay? So think about this. If you're spending $500 a month on your law firm's marketing, what's that tiny little wimpy action telling your subconscious mind about how serious you are about growing your firm, right? If you're only spending 20 grand a month on your marketing, right? I say only because if I only spent 20 grand a month on marketing, I'd have to lay off I don't even know, 70 people or so. We would have not hired 70 people last year if I only spent that much, right? So if you're only spending 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month on marketing, what is that inaction showing your identity, showing you about your identity? If you're only hiring 5 people in 1 year, we hired 70 people last year, right? If you're only hiring 5 people in 1 year, what's that inaction showing you, right? So spending money to hire people, spending money to spend money on marketing, and investing in expensive staff, right? I remember the first person I hired, I paid them $60,000 a year. It was the scariest decision arguably I've ever made. It was insane. Now we have salespeople at our company making near $500,000 a year, right? Now, mind you, this person, brought in over $6.5 million in revenue for us single-handedly, so they deserve that. But still, to think that we would be paying one person that much is absolutely insane, right? So what seems unrealistic to you right now, as your identity rises to another level, will become realistic, right? In the future, so long as you continue to take actions that are bigger than you. So monitor your actions like a hawk in 2025. I want you to monitor every action or inaction of yours in 2025, because those actions are going to be the roadmap for whether or not you see the progress that you want. Action is the name of the game, as we know. And I always say, commitment is shown in one of two places: the wallet or the calendar, right? So show me what you spent money on for the last 30, 60, 90 days. Show me what you spent time on for the last 30, 60, 90 days, and I'll tell you what you're actually committed to. Commitment isn't what you say you're committed to, it's what you show you're committed to, right? Commitment isn't I'm committed. Verbal. No, commitment is your actions evidenced is what commitment is, right? I always say commitment is like a forensic detective was hired to analyze your life, and they look at your actions over the last 90 days, and they come back to you and report back to you, based on where you spent time and money, this is what you're committed to. That's what commitment is, in my viewpoint. You cannot get something in life that you don't deserve. If you are not committed to something, you don't deserve it, right? So I always ask people, do you deserve your goals in 2025 and beyond? Do you deserve it? Everyone goes, yes, I deserve it. I'm worth it. Sorry, if the evidence shows you don't deserve it, you don't deserve it. Because you have to earn deserving it, on planet Earth at least. Because Earth is not fair. The world is not fair, okay? Many people are born with way less fair circumstances than others, right? Some people are born without arms. Other people are born in complete poverty. Other people are born to wealthy families. It is completely different for everyone. It's not fair. It's what you make of the fair, which is really what you make of the reality. And that's why it all comes down to what you do with the cards you've been dealt, right? So 2025 is going to be a year of action for you. The action is going to prove to yourself that you're at that next level, right? So if you're a $1 million firm, that next level could be 10 million for you. If you're a $10 million firm, that next level could be 50 million for you, right? These are all just beliefs, right? It's way more healthy to believe a identity bigger than where you're currently at than to believe where you're currently at. It's always better to stretch your identity through your beliefs, right? So that's the first thing I want to get off the chest is kind of like the identity side, because oftentimes we hop into tactics. How else are you going to transform your firm in 2025 and just be a complete beast in terms of the progress you have in your firm? You're going to commit to an annual plan and execute to that annual plan. Not sexy, but you're going to be absolutely sure that your financial targets are broken down by month. Inflows, outflows of money. That's right. Inflows of money, outflows of money. Yeah, we got to talk about money. Most attorneys that I deal with feel like it's taboo to talk about money. Oh, I'm just doing this for the clients or for my love of the craft. Okay, well then don't be in business. Go work for someone else where you can love your craft as much as you want, right? You've got to focus on planet Earth. And in business, by the way, without the revenue top line on a profit and loss statement, a business doesn't exist, right? Yeah, you can start an LLC, but an LLC is not a business, right? A business has revenue on the top line. If your law firm is a business, revenue needs to be a top priority of your law firm because your law firm doesn't exist without revenue. And by the way, the smaller your law firm is, the more you need to be focused on revenue and not profit. You need to be focused on growth. And there's been a lot of talk about, do I focus on profit? Do I focus on revenue? Do I focus on growth? Where do I focus my time and effort? You need to focus on growth. Why? Because most law firms are too small, right? The majority of law firms are too small. Growth is the number one predictor of healthy businesses, okay? You can go look up McKinsey level management consulting studies on this. Growth is the number one predictor of breakthrough businesses, right? Not profit. Profit's vitally important. I'm not saying you just neglect profit completely, but growth is critical because growth shows you have product market fit, you're treating clients great, people are breaking down walls to buy your product, you have a great sales and marketing function that works without the owner, right? So many intangibles and tangibles have to be achieved for a law firm to grow, right? So growth is so important, and growth is basically measured by one formula, which is LTV to CAC, right? Lifetime value, the amount of money that you receive from a client per client throughout the lifetime of that client's engagements with your firm. That's LTV, and that's calculated on a gross margin basis. So that's basically your gross profit margin. That's the amount of money you receive from a client minus the expenses you pay in handling their case or their cases over a lifetime. That's your lifetime value, LTV, divided by CAC, CAC. Cost of acquisition, how much money you have to spend to acquire a client. So if your average lifetime value of a client minus expenses is, $14,000, and it costs you on average, $7,000 to acquire a client, you have a 2-to-1 LTV to CAC. Let's cut that in half. Let's say it costs you $3,500 to acquire a client, $3,500, and your average LTV is $14,000. That's a 4-to-1 LTV to CAC. If you're at a 4-to-1 LTV to CAC, you have a pretty healthy business, and that is an indication that growth is going to be on its way. Now, if you have a great LTV to CAC, but you don't reinvest in it, an investor is going to look at that and actually be a little caught off guard. Oh, wow, this business has great economics, profiting a lot per client, great client acquisition model. Why isn't the owner reinvesting in the company's growth? What don't they believe about their business? So even if you have great profits, great economics on the inside of your business, but you choose not to reinvest in it, that's a problem for an investor. Because if I was an investor in your firm, the first question I would say, wow, your firm looks so great. Why aren't you investing in growth? And most times it's going to be, oh, well, I don't want to, all these selfish reasons. Oh, I don't want to sacrifice my, that. Okay. This isn't a mission-focused CEO. I don't want to invest in someone who's in business for selfish reasons. I mean, what investor would ever want to do it? Sorry to be so harsh, but like, I'm speaking about the condition of most law firms. Why don't most law firms grow? The average law firm grows under 5% year over year. Why? Well, because most people look at these as personal services corporations. They're in it for their own reasons, protecting their own freedom and work life, whatever. And it's not mission focused. Yeah, listen, mission focused and freedom focused, they're not mutually exclusive. It's not like either you're a mission focused entrepreneur and you have no freedom and no work life balance, right? Or you have all this work life balance and you have zero mission. They're not one or the other. If you are a mission focused CEO, you're going to demand, in most cases, some level of work-life balance and freedom for yourself, right? Because having a mission is stressful, and you're going to need freedom and outlets to sustain that mission, because it's stressful when you have a big mission, right? Like for me, this last year, I was able to race dirt bikes all last year. I was able to take off as many Fridays as I wanted. I was able to do a national championship. I was able to do whatever I wanted on my own calendar. But I'm not work-life balance focused, but I have work-life balance. I have freedom from what I do, and I'm not needed in the day-to-day of my business, right? But I still choose to work my eyeballs out when I work. I'm still grinding every day that I work, but I also grind towards my passions as well for my outlets, right? And it's not for the money. It's for the love of the thing that I do, right? I love what I do in business. I love what I do outside of business. Equally, I love my family. I love everything that I am blessed to be able to do with my freedom. But the bottom line is this. Like in 2025, if you don't commit to an annual plan and you don't execute to that annual plan, then you're going to have problems and your law firm is not going to grow the way that you expected, right? Bottom line, if you don't know what those cash inflows and outflows are, if you are not money focused, cash flow focused, then you need to make the decision on whether or not you should be running your law firm anymore in 2025. Because finances are what allow you to support your staff. Finances are what allow you to reinvest in a world-class client experience system so you can blow your clients' minds, afford the best attorneys in your market that can be on call for your clients and give them the best representation ever, right? Money is what provides all these things. And money is what gives you freedom, right? So that you can afford to step away from the business, reinvest it in staff, and a recharged you is going to be a recharged law firm, right? If you're taking no time off in 2025, if you're never recharged, if you're just grinding, then that's how your clients are going to feel. You know? That's grinding. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's not a good feeling. We don't want that, okay? So, commit to an annual plan. Be financially focused. And absolutely, make sure you give yourself freedom. And make sure you're mission focused in your firm this year. Focus on the mission. Focus on why you're doing what you're doing. Don't make it all about you. Your team doesn't care that you want to take 5 more vacations this year. Like, no. Earn your vacations through your mission, right? Earn your freedom through your mission and being a servant leader to your team, helping your team grow personally, professionally, and financially within your business, right? That's your goal as a leader. And as a byproduct of you being a great leader, you're going to get all the freedom you want. You're actually going to get your team begging for you to step away, clapping when you leave the office early that one day when you leave early because they respect you. That's what respect feels like, right? Is your team wanting you to step away because they understand and acknowledge all the responsibility that you bear as the leader, right? That is what responsibility feels like. And it comes from you having a mission. And it comes from you being committed to the outcomes you want to produce for others. And as a byproduct of the outcomes you want to produce for others, you get personal life outcomes, right? That's what it means to be a mission-focused leader. Now, you cannot listen to anything I'm saying. You could just keep running it based on your own personal needs, run your firm like that, and see how it goes. Some people actually succeed doing that. It's not the majority, but some do succeed. So trust your gut, trust your intuition. The next thing that's going to have to be crystal clear for yourself in 2025 is a marketing plan and a hiring plan. And within your marketing plan is your intake plan. How are you going to scale revenues? What is going to be your main method for scaling revenues, right? That's your marketing and intake plan. So the first thing I like to start with is what's already working. Is there any way to pour fuel on the fire with what's already working? So let's say you're spending 20 grand a month on Google Ads. How can you spend 50 grand a month on Google Ads? How can you spend 100 grand a month on Google Ads? Like, if you're crushing on social media, you're spending 10 grand a month. How do you spend 50 grand a month on Google Ads? On Facebook ads. If you're crushing it on SEO, how are you going to scale up your content? If you're crushing it through word of mouth, how do you create a more scalable referral word of mouth system? Like, start with what works and scale that. Now, here's the caveat. If what works involves your personal time, then I don't know if I would scale that, okay? So this is the beautiful thing about money. You have two things that you can spend in your client acquisition system. Is you can either spend time or money, right? If you spend time shaking hands, kissing babies, networking, referrals, word of mouth, you're the rainmaker of the firm, right? If you primarily spend time to generate leads, it's not scalable, right? If you spend money to generate leads, that's where it becomes really scalable. So I would challenge you in 2025, how can you spend money to acquire clients? Because money means you don't have to spend time, right? And that's why I would veer towards, can you find something that works on Google? That, because Google's still the number one highest traffic website in the world for a reason, and it's the number one website used to find local businesses, law firms or local businesses. You got to stop this belief that you have that Google doesn't work. My clients aren't on Google. It's bull. I've seen it work for every single practice area. The question is whether or not your strategy works. Social media, same exact thing. The highest amount of time spent on the internet is what? Social media. People spend almost 3 hours a day on their phones, right? In some studies, based on age groups, it's higher than 3 hours a day. And most of that time is on social media, right? So ask yourself, how can I leverage more social media to get attention in my local market, right? You can get the attention of every freaking human being in your entire local market just by marketing on social media. We do it marketing to lawyers and it works, right? B2B. It's so funny. We have law firms sometimes sign up with us who are in B2B and they're like, does it work for B2B firms? It seems like what you do works for consumer-facing firms. I'm like, how did you just contact us? Oh, Facebook ads. We're B2B, right? If it works on lawyers, it'll work on anything, I always say. So, yes, Facebook ads can work excellent for your law firm as long as you have the right strategy. Is that going to be a webinar-based strategy? Is that going to be lead magnet to call? I don't know. But get to experimenting. And the number one thing when it comes to spending money on your marketing is the commitment to never reduce your budget. That's the most important thing I've found. No matter what happens, never reduce your budget. Make a commitment to only increase your budget. That's the key. That belief has served me right every single year in business, is if I can just keep that marketing spend going up double, triple, quadruple every year, I know my company's going to grow. I know that's going to force me to have to handle the increase in leads through a better sales and intake process. I know that's going to force me to have to hire more people and delegate more and become a better leader. And that has been the secret, is never reducing marketing spend. That's as simple as it gets. Then it's the relentless pursuit of sales excellence, right? Because once you increase your marketing spend, Then you're going to have to turn those leads into signed clients. Now, becomes more important when you're spending money on marketing because there's more to lose. I like pain. Pain creates progress, right? I want the pain of, we spent 550 grand a month last month on sales and marketing, which we did. What do we get from it? What do we get back from it, right? I like that pressure. I like the pressure of spending a lot on something and then being forced to produce a result in that thing, right? Especially when it's through other people. It's really hard, right? And that commitment to sales execution is going to be mission critical for your revenue equation. If you solve these two things, marketing, execution, and how much you spend on marketing, combined with sales execution and how much you spend on sales, if you just solve those two things and learn in those two areas and constantly take action in those two areas, you will figure out your client acquisition system, or at least version 1 of it. Once you start getting too much demand, oh my God, too many people are calling my law firm, and we're signing up too many of them, now you're going to enter operational territory where it's like, okay, how do we handle all this demand? Well, I need to hire a paralegal. I need to hire support staff. I need to hire attorneys. I need to hire da-da-da. And how can I hire them? And how can I hire a fractional COO or an advisor to really help me map this out in my resource planning, right? So that I can deserve to grow into this increased demand, right? So that's when you go to the operational side, which is how much you're spending on people, right? Which is, in essence, what it comes down to. You're going to spend money on client acquisition or you're going to spend money on people, right? And if you're not spending any money on client acquisition or any money on people, you're not an entrepreneur. Because entrepreneurs, they trade resources for a higher level of resources, right? That's what entrepreneurs do. That's what law entrepreneurs do, is they spend money for a resource. They then leverage that resource in their organized system in a way that produces a higher compilation of resources and results and byproducts, right? So you multiply resources. If you don't have resources or you don't deploy resources, then you're not an entrepreneur because you're not multiplying value, right? So if you don't have the money, I guess you should just give up, right? Just, I don't have the money. So everything Bill's saying doesn't apply to me. Yeah, maybe you should. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't give up. What you should do is you should go get the money. Someone's got your money. And if your family's life depending on you signed up 20 cases in the first month of 2025, would you let your family die? Would you let every member of your family die? I hope the answer is no, right? You'd figure it out. You'd figure out a way to get scrappy, right? The only thing you have in the beginning is sweat equity, right? Now, what you invest in sweat equity, you should then reinvest in actual marketing, right? So sweat equity is what gets you started, right? I mean, think about this. Personal injury, okay? When you are committed to success, you will find a way. There's no excuses. James Helm, Top Dog Law. I talked about him previously. He's now like the largest personal injury lawyer by market share in all Philadelphia. Started his firm 6 years ago. James Helm was SMB's first employee. Now, he was technically a contractor. He did sales for me. It was literally just me and him when SMB started. We worked from the basement of an apartment complex. And James wanted to start his own personal injury law firm, right, which is now Top Dog Law. And he didn't have any money, just like every PI firm that starts out. So what did he do? He got resourceful. He made the money, right, by doing sales with me. Do you think he wanted to do sales with me when he just got his law degree? No. But very quickly, he got himself past $20,000 a month in income, passive income for me from all the sales that he made. And he had a $20,000 a month check. I was paying him every single month for all the sales that he brought in, right? What did that solve? Oh, you don't get it. In personal injury, there's delayed return. Cases take 18 months to settle. Well, that solved the immediate need for cash flow. Now he had 20 grand a month that he could invest in his practice. First person he hired was a marketing director, right? Reinvested that 20 grand into a marketing director, created all his social media content with him, started blowing up on Instagram, right? Did these small little collabs with comedians in the Philly area, got a little bit more attention, signed up his first couple of cases from social media. And for 18 months, he was relying on his sales commissions from me to survive and to reinvest some of that in his marketing initiatives, right? Then his first case settled. And then his second and third, fourth, and they all start popping up, right? And now he, has much more money to reinvest in his marketing. Now he reinvests more in his social strategy, his Google strategy. The bottom line is this. If you have excuses, you don't have innovation. And if you have innovation, you don't have excuses, right? Best way to innovate is when your back is up against the wall, right? That's the easiest way to innovate, is when you have no plan B. James didn't have plan B. He made it work, and now he's running the biggest firm in all Philadelphia to show of it, right? So I don't care what practice area you're in, okay? Now, you don't have to do what James did, although I'd love to have you work sales for us. Maybe we should have that be a thing. Maybe we should have PI lawyers just getting started. We give them the opportunity to do sales with us. That would be sick. Interesting. I'll think about that. But hopefully you don't have to do that. Maybe it's going to be way easier for you to sign up 20 additional clients and get money from those 20 additional clients and then reinvest that. But it's going to require scrappiness, right? It's going to require a period of sacrifice. The initial periods of starting a business is the universe's way of testing you. It is the hardest thing ever. I mean, never mind. Having a kid is the hardest thing ever for the mom. That is witnessing that firsthand right now. Like, my entrepreneur stuff, not even close to having a kid. That is full time at a whole different level. And if you have kids, you know what I mean. But second to having a kid, starting a business is the hardest thing ever on planet Earth to do. It is extremely difficult, especially if the business is designed to replace yourself within it. That is starting a business, a lot of people will do something like a side business in the course of their life, right? Creating a business that works systematically over a sustained period of time that doesn't involve you, that's like magic, man. That is if not the hardest thing, second to having a kid, I put it within the top 5 of hard things. Because you are fighting against everything in the universe when you start your own business. There's 30 million existing businesses in the U.S. Everyone thinks that they have the best sliced bread. Speaking through the marketplace, having a differentiated value proposition, setting up a sales process that works without you, operations process, hiring process, systems, team accountability. It's amazing. I wouldn't trade it in for the world. I was born for this. But most people aren't. And it's gonna take some escape velocity. It's gonna take some sacrifice. Most people can awaken the entrepreneur within them within a 24-month period of decimating pain. If you can get through the 24 months of all the sacrifices that you have to make to really become the entrepreneur that you could be, you could become something great at that next level identity, that next level CEO, that beast within your firm in 2025. Most people aren't willing to take that risk, right? And it's so funny. Why don't they take the risk? Oh, I have a family. Oh, it's not the right time. I don't want to take risk because You're taking risk anyway, right? If you don't grow, you're risking your family forever, okay? So you got to ask yourself, is it that you're afraid of risk, or is it that you're afraid of risk now in exchange for complacency later, right? Like, are you afraid of taking a big risk now to have less risk for the rest of your life? Or what are you really afraid of? You know? So the commitment to be, most people listening to this podcast, you're already a business owner. You already run your own law firm. So you've already made the leap to be your own law firm owner. I'm not saying that. That's child's play. Anyone can start an LLC, sign up a client, right? I'm talking about the 24-month commitment to you turning this business into a real business. That's going to be the hard part. That's going to require intense learning, intense commitment to growth, intense commitment to spending money in places you don't know exactly how you're spending it, why you're spending it, and where it's going. You're going to be in the dark. You're going to be in the abyss. You're going to chew on some glass. But on the end of that 24-month time period, if you stick with it and you learn and you educate yourself persistently, on the other side of those 24 months, you'll start seeing the light, right? And then it's another 24 months of uncertainty on that next growth rate, and then another 24 months of it. It's constantly uncertainty. This is why it's your relationship to uncertainty that determines whether or not you're an entrepreneur. Bathe in the uncertainty because it ain't going anywhere, right? Uncertainty is literally the bathwater of an entrepreneur, right? And I hope in 2025 you have a lot of uncertainty, because if it's all just certainty, that means you're doing the same crap that you did last year, right? You want a lot of new problems in 2025. I want to measure your firm's success rate as to the rate of problems that you have that are new. If you have all the same problems every month, you ain't growing, right? I want you to have big new problems. New problem. Shit, I hired 5 people this week. How do I onboard them? That's a new problem, right? Shit, I had 5 perfectly right fit clients call me in one day. How do I sign all these clients up? How do I find an attorney to do the work? I can't do all this myself. Those are the types of problems you want, right? Crap. I have a A-player attorney that wants to join my firm, but they want a $300,000 salary and I can't afford it. Good problem. New problem, right? Problems of commission, not omission, right? So 2025 is going to be your year if you let it. So trust your instincts, do something big, unleash the beast, and it's all going to start by you taking an action that's bigger than yourself. You're going to have to do something that scares the shit out of you, right? Just kick off the year with something that scares the underpants off your underpants. That make any sense? No, doesn't, because growth doesn't make sense. That's the whole point. Don't you get it? So do something big, okay? If you're spending 10 grand on marketing, spend 50. If you're spending 50, spend 500. Come on, bro. No, don't spend 5. Spend like 150, Go from 50 to 150. If you have like 2 employees, I don't know. Maybe it's time to go to 4 or 5. Maybe you got to go in the red a little bit to onboard them. You got to do something bold. You're going to have to make some bold hiring decisions, bold firing decisions, bold budget decisions. Bottom line is it's got to get you closer to your vision, right? And you're going to have to invest in personal development if you're serious about your growth. You're going to have to find a mentor, an advisor, a group of mentors, coaches, someone who can help you through the inevitable pitfalls. And by the way, it's not just you hiring a consultant or a coach. It's you being receptive to the experience of not having all the answers yourself and needing help, right? That's what's going to really be the enlightening moment for you. And sorry that I've been picking my hand this whole time because I've had pins in my hand for going on. Well, actually today would be five weeks. And I get my pins out like this week, and I haven't been able to shower my hand. I mean, I have to like hold my hand up when I shower. And my hand is like so dry because it hasn't been washed in forever. So I'm picking it. All right, I should probably hang up on myself. I'll see you in the next episode. Just do some big stuff for your firm in 2025. All right, peace out.